Francis Ngannou, a Cameroonian-born French MMA superstar, successfully defended his UFC heavyweight title against Cyril Gane on January 22nd at UFC 270, becoming the undisputed heavyweight champion. Long before his title defense against the fellow Frenchman, Ngannou was scheduled to face the former long-reigning light heavyweight champion Jon Jones. But does he really want the fight to happen? Is Jon Jones's absence from the octagon related to the fight? Here's what we know so far. First, what did Jon Jones's advisors say about the possible fight against Ngannou? Meanwhile, according to The Sun, Jones's advisor Richard Schaefer was scheduled to meet with UFC brass to discuss his return to the octagon. According to the report, Schaefer stated that he would love to put together a fight against Ngannou and that he is in talks with the promotion. I don't say Francis Ngannou because I'd love to put together a Francis Ngannou fight, and I'm in talks with the UFC. And I'll be meeting with them here in Los Angeles this weekend, the former Golden Boy Promotions CEO said, according to The Sun. Moving on, why is Jon Jones absent from the octagon? Jones's absence from the octagon is primarily due to a contractual dispute with the UFC. At the same time, Ngannou has stated openly that if he decides to extend his contract with the promotion, he wants a significant pay increase. Both fighters have been linked to a heavyweight clash for quite some time, and ahead of his title defense against Gane, the heavyweight champion was asked about fighting Jones. Next up, Francis Ngannou doesn't want to fight against Jon Jones. In response to questions during the pre-fight press conference, Ngannou stated unequivocally that he is no longer interested in the fight. "No, I'm over that fight. I've been looking forward to that fight for a long time. It was supposed to be Jon Jones after Stipe Miocic, but that has yet to happen. I'm trying to understand why, so I moved on," Ngannou told MMA Mania. Even if both MMA superstars' contracts issues are resolved, a clash between Jones and Ngannou does not appear imminent. During his interview with The Sun, Richard Schaefer stated that Jones is willing to fight whoever wins the heavyweight championship. Jones's comments confirm that the title is more important to him than his fight with Ngannou. This opens the door for Jones to fight for the interim title before the undisputed title fight between Jones and Ngannou. Moving on, Curtis Blaydes is a tougher fighter for Jon Jones than Francis Ngannou, claims Josh Thompson. Former UFC fighter Josh Thompson claims Curtis Blaydes is a more difficult opponent for Jon Jones than Francis Ngannou. Blaydes has been thrust into the spotlight this week following reports that the UFC is planning to book Jones versus Ngannou for UFC 285 next year. Razor is rumored to be a backup fighter in case Bones or the Predator pull out, and many have speculated on the 31-year-old's chances if he faces the light heavyweight GOAT. Thompson stated on the last episode of the Weighing In podcast that Blaydes is a tougher matchup for Jon Jones due to his wrestling, but that being a tougher fight does not make it more dangerous. Curtis Blaydes is the more difficult opponent for me. The tougher fight, not the more dangerous fight. Does that make sense? Curtis Blaydes has more tools and weapons than Ngannou and will give Jon a better wrestling match. Perhaps not much, but he'll make him work. Thompson continued, "I'm trying to say that Curtis Blaydes can wrestle him and stand with him for a short time, but doesn't want to get carried away on his feet. In the heavyweight division, Jon Jones may not have the conditioning that we all believe. He may slow down as he ages and has been off for 3 years." Following that, Michael Bisping isn't sure Jon Jones can beat Francis Ngannou. Although Jon Jones is widely regarded as the GOAT of the light heavyweight division, Michael Bisping is skeptical that he will be successful when he makes his heavyweight debut next year. Jones versus Ngannou is scheduled for UFC 285 in March, but the 35-year-old has never faced a fighter with the KO potential and power of the Predator. The heavyweight champion has won 10 of his 12 UFC fights by KO or TKO and displayed impressive wrestling in his win over Cyril Gane in January. Bisping discussed the potential heavyweight clash in a recent Q&A on his YouTube channel. Bones, according to The Count, is undoubtedly the more technical fighter, but Ngannou can end the fight in an instant. Of course, Jon is the better fighter, but Francis only needs one touch, one glimpse of a shot, and you're out, so I'm not sure. Next up, Jorge Masvidal is taking control. Jorge Masvidal has been represented by First Round Management, a firm headed by Abe and Malki Kawa that represents many UFC fighters. However, it appears that this will be changing in the future. According to Alex Bahunen's report, Masvidal has parted ways with First Round Management, leaving on good terms and continuing to work together. However, from now on, he will will represent himself in his negotiations. According to sources, Jorge Masvidal is no longer represented by first-round management. He is still on good terms with FRM, but he will be negotiating on his own from now on, Bahunin reports. Masvidal is not the only well-known UFC fighter to have decided to represent himself in recent years. Sean O'Malley is the most notable example, claiming that he was getting better deals on his own. It will be interesting to see how this plays out for Gamebred, who hasn't fought since losing a decision to Colby Covington in March, and if other fighters join in on this emerging trend. Moving on, I won't stand for any racism. Celebrities like West and Irving have massive online followings, and Levy says he's had to deal with messages from people influenced by their opinions. Trust me, I've noticed it. I get a lot of lovely DMs all the time. I am Jewish. It's who I am, and it's how I was born. I'm very proud of it, and I'll fight for it. I will fight for my people in the octagon or wherever necessary. I will not tolerate anti-Semitism. I will not tolerate racism in my environment. Don't bully anyone around me or I'll find you. Following a 4-0 amateur record, Levy made his pro MMA debut in 2018. A perfect 5-0 record earned Levy a spot on Contenders Series 2020, where he submitted Shaheen Santana in the third round to secure a UFC contract. The Israeli lost his UFC debut to Rafa Garcia, but has since won back-to-back fights, including a unanimous decision over Mike Breeden earlier this year. Following that, Thompson names Venom as karate's best in MMA. Thompson was asked to name the top 5 karate fighters in the world of MMA during a recent interview with CBS Sports' Shaquille Majori ahead of his return to action this weekend at UFC Orlando. The list included obvious choices such as legendary former 2-division champion Georges St. Pierre and Brazilian legend Lyoto Machida, current middleweight contender Robert Whittaker, as well as a more surprising choice in Gunnar Nelson, cut. The winner was veteran Bellator welterweight Michael Venom Page, whose unique and eccentric striking game has resulted in several viral highlight reel-worthy clips. Certainly, I would say MVP, Michael Page, and Venom have to be at the top of the list, Thompson said. I believe he comes from a point-fighting background. He's fought a lot against Raymond Daniels, one of the best point fighters and strikers out there. Michael Page is undoubtedly at the top of the list. His movement, his charisma out there, he's just a lot of fun to watch, and he moves so quickly. So he's unquestionably at the top of the list, Thompson added. Page's style is unmistakably karate-influenced, with the man describing it as a mishmash of kung fu, karate, and taekwondo. MVP, like Thompson, controls distance with his wide stance, darting in and out of range with evasive movement and quick footwork. Finally, Conor McGregor settles with Michael Chiesa. As is typical of anything dealing with the legal system in the United States, Michael Chiesa and Conor McGregor had to work through their lawsuit in claims court for several years before settling. However, that day has finally arrived, with reports indicating that the two have reached an agreement 4 years after that fateful day. The initial lawsuit claimed that McGregor's actions caused Chiesa many problems, including negligence, negligent infliction of emotional distress, intentional infliction of emotional distress, assault and battery, and more. The Irishman's lawyer argued that because the bus attack was intended to harm Khabib Nurmagomedov, any injuries caused to others were beyond his control. At one point, a judge dismissed some of Michael Chiesa's claims, but on appeal, a judge ruled that Chiesa's claim of intentional infliction of emotional distress had been improperly dismissed. However, Chiesa would eventually settle with McGregor, reaching an undisclosed agreement with the understanding that the lawsuit would not be pursued again for this matter. In terms of the criminal justice system, McGregor has long since paid the price for his actions, having received community service and court-ordered anger management due to the 2018 incident. With Chiesa's lawsuit now officially behind him, it appears that this wild chapter in UFC history has ended. Well, that marks the end of our video for today. We hope you enjoyed it. And on your way out, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more content like this in the future. Thanks for watching.